in New York and in a lot of urban areas that want highways completely eliminated. They want to go back to some of the racial history of highways, but also they really want to go back to the fact that they are anti-vehicle, any vehicle. So when you explain that this is a major freight corridor, they don't care. They think you could just shift freight to rail or to bark. Yeah, at which it's like it's not like the railroads almost shut down the country 2 weeks ago. It's not. But sure, let's blame the trucks for the fact that we only have two rail companies in the whole nation. But this is the mentality we have to work with. So we were actually there was a large coalition of elected officials and community groups and business groups to get the funding to repair the BQE, to make sure that that highway stayed that major freight corridor. And it was shot down by some loud local groups that want to turn it into a park or to some other sort of,
You know how necessary the BQE is? Do you know how necessary?
It's
I'm
the
just saying,
lifeblood.
do what now?
It's the lifeblood of the city, of the economy.
I don't. What would you do without it? I mean, but I'm going to tell you that I believe if you don't invest in it now, it won't be long before something tragic happens in that, because the alarm bells are already going off. Everyone knows that it is necessary to change it, and and we're not fixing it. I mean, how do we not fix it?
It's mind-boggling. They're doing some like Scotch tape type repairs, really, for lack of a better word, just to make sure it doesn't completely crumble until they could figure out what they want it to look like. But what it needs to look like, and I'm sure there are other. They could have it with freight and with something else. Doesn't necessarily just have to be trucks, but they have to have that corridor for trucks to go down. And to the point is, like you said, there are so many roads and bridges and communities already where trucks can't really fit through. But imagine diverting all of them off the BQE onto these local streets.
I can't.
Epic disaster.
I can't.
And that's what the understanding needs to be, and that's where the investments need. And then I think we could also have a conversation about places where you could do like micro distribution zones, where you could come up with ways to move freight from larger vehicles to smaller vehicles, possibly even cargo bikes, electric vans. There are opportunities there, but you have to be willing to meet with the industry at the table and talk through them, or else they're never going to happen, and everything is just going to get worse and worse and worse and less safe.
Well, what we don't need to have is a disaster, right? And because the alarm bells are out there, and I think what we're talking about, and I know the infrastructure bill was put out there, and I know that we've invested some money across the country, and if we hadn't, we would be in a much worse place than we are now. But I think not just the BQE is a good example of what we're talking about here. There's many things that we need to discuss if we wanted to, or go down that rabbit hole about how important it is when we do invest in our infrastructure that we think about trucks. I mean, we need to think about all of them. Look, most people don't realize the interstate system in the United States wasn't created for the four-wheel passenger car. It was actually created for interstate commerce. It was actually created to move goods and services across this country by, Dwight D. Eisenhower saw the need of being able for the defense, not only for the growth of the country, but for the defense of the country and for the ability to do that. And that was created, and it's turned into this, the interstate system is pretty awesome across the country. It's pretty effective. But we need to rethink and retool. I like the idea of sitting down with businesses and coming up with these micro centers. That's a discussion that business can succeed in. But if you're not willing to come to the table and just say, get rid of us as a whole, it just won't work. I mean, and you don't want those trucks running by your schools constantly all day long like they do out in LA at the port, trying to get those, you know what I mean? We have those kinds of situations. And it's not beneficial to the public as a whole. I'll tell you what, it says here that you have gone to City Hall and testified. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. So, anytime that there's a bill that, generally it's through the transportation committee at the city council, but there's a bill that's going to affect trucking, good, bad, or otherwise. The Trucking Association of New York comments, and I've been actively involved with that organization for a long time. I served on the board the last 4 years. I actually ran the Metro Region Legislative Affairs Committee for the last 6 years. So that's what I go to the city council to talk about. And the most recent one was sort of what you were saying, where business takes the lead, but because the regulatory agencies operate a little slowly, the city council wanted to give them a push. So the city council really came up with this package of bills that would, for example, explore those micro distribution zones, that would sort of mandate that any new apartment building that goes up, that they have a dedicated space, for package delivery. Because of the rise of e-commerce, that on the street, anytime a building is go up and they take away a commercial loading zone, that during the construction they must find a way to replace that loading zone. And so those are some of the more positive bills that the city council looked to pass. Now, there are some negative ones that I had to testify in as well. Things like, regulating side guards on every truck in the city. And of course, on the one hand, that's the thing, right? On the one hand, you say, well, it's a safety issue. And you say, but the city doesn't really have the jurisdiction to regulate it to the point where it would have any sort of safety impact. That's just an economic impact. If anything's going to be mandated in that way, it has to come at the federal level. New York City has no business just doing that. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you can see some of the fun I have at these city council meetings.
I'll tell you what, I do like the fact that you're an advocate and that you work with the Trucking Association. I think it's fantastic. I think anybody that's listening should be involved. If you're in this industry, you should be involved in your association. You should be involved at the local level, at the state level, or wherever you can get in. Absolutely. And as you speak to it, it's important that we all create that voice out there. Hey, Zach, look, man, I appreciate it. Why don't you tell us again about your site, what they can listen to, and how can they hear you?
So you could listen to me on Stream, which is YouTube. My name is Zach Miller. I am with TruckTractorTrailer.com, and you are listening to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Wow, I didn't even have to prompt you, and you did it all the way through. That is awesome, Zach. Hey, listen, I'd love to have you back on to talk about some other fun and important stuff as safety. I appreciate you being on here, man. Great conversation, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, sir.
Absolutely. You too, and I'm looking forward to coming back.
All right, thanks a lot. We'll see you later.
Thanks.
All right, well, that was Zach Miller with Stream, and I'll tell you what a fun conversation. We talk about different things. We talk about a lot of different issues and stuff we got going on in this country. And yes, the big cities are one of them that tractor trailers have to move in, move around, and move through with safety and be there and be mindful of it. And what a great conversation. I appreciate Zach for coming on. We'll be back in just a second with Double Check Dale and discussing a little bit about a safety topic that I think all of us find very important. We'll be back in just 1 minute. And we're back here at BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive safe, Dave. And along with Double Check Dale, back in the studio. What you got going on today over there, Dale? Hey, no, before we get started, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I want to start this off. Is that okay?
That's fine, Dave. Start.
Are you okay? Because I think this is important. we talk about safety here, and we talk about all kinds of things, and we talk about distracted driving, and we talk about what they are. But I'm going to tell you, to me, I think one of the things about truck driving that's important that we realize is how impactful stress is on our lives. And I mean that in a sense that we talked about it earlier, and life gets in the way.
Yep, life happens.
Life happens to everybody.
Every moment, every day.
Every moment of every day. I agree with you 100%. And it is easy to be distracted behind the wheel. And I'll start with something very simple. I'm a driver. I've been out for 2 weeks. I'm on my last load going home.
Yep.
Am I going a little bit faster than I would normally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to be a little bit. I'm thinking about what I'm going to be doing for the next 3 days that I get.
My mind is racing, and I've sped up a little.
And I've pushed the accelerator down a little bit. Or here's one that's happened to me in the past. I'm on the road, and I just headed out, and I'm in Atlanta, and my wife calls, and the pipes are leaking. We got leaking pipes. What is she calls me on the phone? She's in panic mode. What does she do? You know, I'm not there to grab the pipe wrench and turn a wrench. I'm not there to turn the water valve off. I'm not there to fix it. And now, all of a sudden, I'm stressed a little bit, right?
Yep.
I'm freaked a little bit because of the things that's going on. I'm worried that she's now in a bad position to deal with this, and I'm not there. How is that going to affect how I drive?
Oh, very much so, because it takes you away from focusing on your primary mission of driving safely, and now your mind is wandering. You're thinking of all the different things that can go wrong, that can go bad in that. And so, I mean, it's very tough, like you said. It's so easy to get distracted with that other things. The hard part is to bring yourself back into the reality of what's going on around you, watching those mirrors, getting that big picture, driving defensively. It's very real.
It is real. It's kind of scary in and of itself because it can make a difference between being safe today and not being safe today. Here's the hard part. It's not dealing with the problems in life.
No.
It's knowing when you should not be driving the truck, or knowing when you should slow down, or knowing when that this is negatively impacting your decision making.
Yeah.
Because you're not making the best decisions out there. And what I mean by that is in the lane you're in, behind the vehicle you're behind, or out there on the road, doing what you're doing that you do so much that the other person takes over, and you're focused on that and not focused on where you should be.
Yeah, you start justifying the decisions you're making because, well, I got this going on there, so I'm going to drive a little bit faster going home, knowing that you normally wouldn't. Now you're justifying it because, well, I have this. Well, there's always something going on. You can't start justifying that way. You have to recognize that, hey, I'm making decisions that I shouldn't be making, that I normally wouldn't be making, and pull back from them.
Yeah, I tell you right now, it's very tough to be honest with yourself. That's the hardest part. No, I'm okay. I got this. I'm good. I know. I'll hang on just a second. Hang on. Let me get through this traffic just a second. I'll call you right back. No. What's got going on? I'll call the plumber. No, I know the guy. I'll call it. You know what I mean? You got all these things going on, and you're still behind the wheel of the car.
Yeah, and things have changed so much. I mean, you just said, well, no, I'll make the call. Back in the day when I was driving, probably you too, the cell phones weren't there. So you got that call from your wife that says, hey, I got this going on. The worst you could do is sit there in the vehicle and stew over and think about it. But you didn't start, picking your phone up. You didn't start looking for, plumbers or whatever else. And that's the real danger, is because today now you have so much other things at your fingertips, so many other ways to get distracted.
Searching for the plumber on your phone. No, and look, I get it. There's other things in life that also deal with it. There's, I got to get home because my son's got a game. I want to make the game. And herein lies the difficulty. And I meant to bring this up because I want to make sure that we speak to it. This has everything to do with dispatchers. This has everything to do with owners. This has everything to do with everyone in this industry. Find a way, these stressors, these moments, these danger times, to be able to communicate and listen to the drivers, understand where they are. And if the driver's out there and you understand where you are, make sure that you realize that's the moment you need to back off. That's the moment you need to slow down. That's the moment it gets dangerous. And this is the time. I would much rather you be there than trying to be early and not making it at all. And I think that's where we are. And I think that's where we have to be mentally. We have to be prepared to slow down. We have to look at life for what it is. It is tough. And we are people. And behind the wheel of these trucks, we are human. We are infallible. We do make mistakes. We make less of them, though, when we're focused on what we're doing.
Yeah. When we're being honest with ourselves, focused on what we're doing, being honest with ourselves, thinking it through, knowing that, hey, this is going on, but I still can't take those risks. I can't change what's important to me, the value of life. Because once we start making changes and decisions about getting home instead of the value of life, that's when they really go downhill bad and they start to snowball.
They do, and we talk about it and we mention it, and I think it's so hard to be honest with, and I'm going to be. It's hard to be honest with me.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, you can be honest with me a whole lot easier than I'll be honest with me.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell myself I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I'll tell myself that I got this.
I'll look in the mirror. I can do this.
I got this.
I got
I'm
this.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, we've got to make sure that we understand the most important thing you're doing at the time when you're behind the wheel of the vehicle is concentrating on what you're doing behind the wheel of the vehicle. Whether you're, I don't care. I mean, it really, I don't care while you're behind the vehicle. You've got to focus there.
Yeah.
And if you need to pull over for a minute, pull over. Pull over, make your calls, get done what needs to get done, and then get back out on the road. And if you're late, have people understand why you're late. Explain it, get into detail. Those are the kinds of things that are important. All right, do we have any videos? Let's look at these 3 videos.
Let's look at 3 videos today. Hey, guess what? We're probably following too close right here.
You know what? You're going to catch yourself in these moments, right? Yeah. You're going to be driving down the road, and guess what? You're behind the slow vehicle, right? It's going so slow that the people on the right are passing on the right. Yeah, I mean, it's just that's where the driver got himself so that he didn't have, the ingress, egress of that right lane, and he's riding there just taking it easy.
Yep.
You got to get around him. All right. Now, here's one of those scenes that you come up on. Nobody's going anywhere. We're moving very slowly through here. Don't get up in it. Don't get in the pack, and don't find yourself caught up in this mess because that can get ugly quick.
Yes, it will. And you look at the vehicles that are involved with a truck pulling a trailer, which, they don't have the experience that the professional drivers do.
Oh, the snowbird here on the right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen that make this situation even a little bit more dangerous when you get caught up, like you said, in that pack. And again, just a little too close, and I actually think this one driver gains a little bit on the one in front of him.
Yeah, he's trying to get up in there, and you're trying to get close in. Look, he wants to pass those vehicles on the right, or she, I don't know exactly which, but I think for sending this in. This is just seeing our everyday stuff. It's something that we get used to, something that we see, and I'll tell you right now, this moment in time, we're going to see this 500 times a day out there almost every mile you run. You're going to see those little... Yep. Those little packs but steer clear of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you have to be honest with yourself and say, hey, I am too close, and I know why. It goes back to just fine. I know why I'm too close. Right. I am too close, but I got to back out of it, make this safer. So.
Yeah, I think it's important, and I think it is important that you identify, and you know what? We watch these videos. The drivers weren't really doing anything wrong other than following too close at the time. And if you wanted to look at it even more, believe this, it can be viewed as aggressive driving because we were tailgating.
Yep.
We weren't following at a safe distance, and that's really the definition of tailgating. So we just want you to back off. We want you to get to the safe distance, and we want you to be safe out there on the road.
Yep. And just because you're at or below the speed limit doesn't make it right. You're still following too close, like you said. I mean, speed and space management, they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, let's have a safe and wonderful weekend. We will see y'all on Monday here on BCB Live.
Safest station in the nation.
He knows it every time. All right, we'll be back.
Peace out.
Bye.